Hello everyone. As a work activity of the Study Unit International Negotiation and Cross-Cultural Protocol of the Masters in Global Marketing of AN University, we're going to develop this video through which we intend to deliver concepts about how could the common protocols for intercultural negotiation be used properly at the moment of dealing negotiation processes with people of different cultures. We will start by making an interpretation about the important role that culture as a concept represents for a negotiation process, in which the correct identification of cultural differences will allow us to understand the correct application of common protocols for intercultural negotiation processes that can be translated into better results for each of the parties. One of the basic points involved in international business process is the impact that cultural factor may have in the proper interpretation of the relations between the parts involved. Understanding that one of the strategic and important points to consider is that negotiation processes are always developed by people who must gather a certain amount of characteristics and skills to be able to face any process with the intention of leading to positive scenarios that translate into real benefits, generating win-win situations, in which the important thing is that each of the parties obtain the benefit that they look for, based on the interest that was raised at the moment of getting involved in the negotiation. All this scenario requires an adequate and deep identification of each one of the factors that need to be analyzed and interpreted in order for the negotiation to be developed. Within those variables to interpret, the one that has become a fundamental factor is culture, understood by select use as the socio-behavioral patterns, attitude, norms, and values that characterize a society and are used to interpret their surroundings and guide their interaction with other people. Taking as a starting point the concept of culture, it will not be possible to consider the successful outcome of a negotiation process if there are not well interpreted in one of the key factors which make up an adequate cultural study, such as language, belief and values, aesthetic, which refers to the meaning and use of colors, and of course, religion. This is a strong evidence pointing out the importance of a concrete study of the cultural differences involved in a negotiation process. However, this interpretation by itself does not guarantee success but can at least avoid blunders. An inadequate interpretation of the way in which social behavior is generated can lead to the lack of understanding of the relationship between people, causing that the processes initiated can be harmed. So, if it is not well performed, an adequate interpretation of how the common protocol for intercultural negotiation can be used properly, all the efforts can be translated into damage and could prejudice the possible relations that were intended to be viable. On the other hand, cultural differences between negotiations can obstruct negotiations in many ways. Firstly, they can create misunderstanding in communication. For example, if an American manager responds to the proposal of another American with a phrase, it is difficult to have it done, his phrase understood through the filter of American culture and business practice is probably likely to mean that there is still opportunity for further discussion on that issue. In other cultures, for example in China, people may be reluctant to say no directly, even if it is not the real intention. Thus, when a Japanese negotiator in response to a proposal uses the phrase, "it is difficult," it could indicate that the proposal is unacceptable. "It is difficult" means no in Japan, or in the United States implies a maybe. Cultural differences create difficulties in understanding not only words, but also in the interpretation of actions. For example, many Occidentals expect a prompt response when making a statement on a question, while the Japanese tend to respond slowly. As a result, negotiations with the Japanese have sometimes moments of silence that are very uncomfortable for an American. For the Japanese, the period of silence is considered normal and an appropriate time to reflect on what has been said. The fact that they might have to speak in a different language from their native one will only extend the required period for a response. From a cultural perspective, in the Western world, negotiators interpret silence as a lack of courtesy, or a misunderstanding of the discussion, or even as a cunning tactic in finding their true intentions. Rather than wait for a response, the American tendency is to fill the void in discussion with words, asking questions, offering a further explanation, or simply repeating what has already been said. Protocols for intercultural negotiation influence the form and substance of the settlement one is trying to reach. For example, in many parts of the Muslim world, where the Islamic law forbids charging interest on loans, anyone interested to do business is forced to maintain and remain financial charges in administrative fees to obtain consent at the negotiation table, especially cultural differences with variable required changes in product management system and personal policies. It is quite difficult to attempt to establish a standardization in the way each negotiator follow-ups on his participation in negotiation based on the fact that there are different national settings, especially because cultures are in constant flux, and context influences behavior in multiple ways. The Japanese tended to emphasize an interpersonal negotiation style, stressing verbal expressiveness and listenability. Brazilian focus more on verbal ability, planning, and judgment in Taiwan. It is important that the negotiator be an interesting person who shows persistence and determination. Negotiators always vary in the style of persuasion they rely upon and their comfort with emotionality. In American settings, appeals tend to be made to logic, relying on objective facts. Emotional sensitivity is not highly valued, and dealings may seem straightforward and impersonal. Japanese negotiators value emotional sensitivity highly and tend to hide emotion behind calm exterior. Latin American negotiators tend to share the Japanese appreciation of emotional sensitivity and express themselves passionately about their points of view. Arab negotiators may appeal to emotions and subjective feelings in an effort to persuade others. Russian, in contrast, tend to appeal to ideals, drawing everyone's attention to overarching principles. Finally, common protocols for intercultural negotiation may influence the negotiating style. The way people from direct culture behave during negotiation processes, negotiation practice differ from culture to culture because intercultural protocols can influence how people perceive the nature and function of negotiation. Negotiation, in a sense, may have two approaches. One, analytical and descriptive that focus on a particular population group seeking to interpret their behavior on cultural basis, and, on the other hand, a comparative and intercultural approach in which seeks to interpret their behavior in relation with other people from different cultures. These two approaches seek to a better identification of the important role that protocols for intercultural negotiation have on relationships, results, and negotiation processes. This video is the result of some research on protocols for intercultural negotiation done by Omar Giovanni Quijano, Diana Milena Mayaño, and Jaime Alberto Zuniga. Thank you very much to everyone. We will meet again in the next opportunity in which we will treat more issues related to international negotiation.